everyone. I'm so sorry. I've just realized that I wasn't focused in, so we're going to start. Terrible. We're going to start a few minutes into it, but basically what I wanted to do today was draw a bit more, well, draw a little bit more about the engineer characters, and I've had a few ideas for changing how they sort of work and how they look in the world. At the 750 subscriber special, we drew a couple of engineer helpers and realized they looked so similar to the other helpers that they didn't have their own sort of sense of self. So with that, I've sort of gone back, I've had a little think, and I thought it'd be really cool to sort of rework them. So this is just a video about that, really. But yeah, I'm so sorry. I did talk about some wonderfully eloquent and fantastic information, and you'll just have to trust me that everything was said perfectly well, and absolutely did not forget what I was talking about several times. But we'll carry on. So the idea of these helpers, that because they're going to be close to the half ship, they didn't need all these garbs and all this like extra warm, outfits and stuff. It didn't really make sense if they're never going to sort of be away. So now I've sort of got this sense of they're going to be much skinnier, more, sort of lightly dressed than the other helpers, and certainly the lures, which are the main characters of the game. And instead they have this, far more mechanical contraptions on their bodies and on their heads especially. And I like the idea of it almost being like oversized. And I was trying to think of how it would kind of make sense, how would they, if they were much skinnier and, less, well, I guess less strong than the other helpers, how would they hold it all? So I'm hoping as we're drawing, something will kind of scream out to me and I'll be able to put that in and it will make sense thematically in the game. But we'll see. I guess it could have, if they got these shoulder pads and this like equipment that holds it on tight, that could work. But we'll see. I guess these cables will be going off to the half ship, and if they're sort of underneath the half ship at all times, it would make sense that they're not really holding the weight. It's all connected to the machine itself above. So maybe that's where we'll go with it. And I love the idea of just almost too many cables, just all these contraptions, all these, biomechanical-esque, machinery above them. I just think that's really cool. So yeah, we'll see how we do, and if it doesn't feel right, we'll just have this as a sort of concept and an idea. But yeah, I thought today would be nice to draw with biro, even though I normally draw with microns, only because it just has a different feel. And I don't know, I wanted to be more sketchy today, and it's quite enjoyable just sort of mixing up every now and again. So this was the idea, to have these big helmets, and then on the helmets itself would have, the arms, the mechanical little doodahs that sort of do all the engineering and stuff. So I guess, you would have to be very, very clever person to be an engineer, simply because you have to be moving around, and looking around your environment, figuring out stuff. But also, I guess there's maybe some sort of way that they control all these moving parts on their bodies all the time as well. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea. But we'll see how we do, and if we like it, we'll keep it. If we don't, that's fine too. Alright, so lots of cables, too many cables. That's what we like. And then, so we'll have little like battery ports and different connectors, so if they are connecting into the half ship at any point, and they got all these spare little bits and pieces they can work with. Like so. Little hands. Yeah, very sketchy today. I just don't know, that's how I usually draw if it's if I'm just concept artwork, and I just want the the idea to be shown. I don't need it to be perfect in any shape or form. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's looking all right. And then we'll do another big sort of pipe here. No reason other than it looks cool. That's all. And then there's little hand. Hands are normally what undoes me on a drawing, because I tend to draw either the hands in a weird position or normally too thick or too thin. But I think I got away with that. Hey, look at that. Getting a little bit better. Slowly but surely. Cool. Yeah, we if you did happen to come see the 750 subscriber special live video, it was just kind of drawing whatever, we kind of thought would be fun to draw, and it was a lot of fun as well, because, I think my favorite bit was not really having any sort of plan, and, if someone had an idea for what they wanted to see me draw, I just drew it off the cuff, and, it was a really fun experiment, actually. Experiment, not quite the word, but it was fun to do. It just made me use my brain a little bit more, and we draw some really ugly things, and it was really fun. So yeah, thank you for everyone that showed up, or if you've watched it since. I hope you enjoyed that one. I think it's my favorite one. Probably my favorite video. Cool. Nice. So we'll do a few ideas of this. Is just one of the ideas I had for the engineers, so we can have a few attempts. So this is another one of the sort of mechanical arms. Mechanical arms? That's probably more accurate, isn't it? Probably better words. Yeah, cool. It does help though, been watching a lot of Alien lately, and I've got some really cool mechanical stuff in these films. Always a bonus. Though I very rarely use any, what's the word? Oh my goodness, I can't remember the word now. Reference. I very rarely use references. I kind of like just making things up and seeing how they go, really. And if it doesn't look quite right, I'll keep drawing it until I figure out what's wrong with it, which I think is quite a nice part of my process. And that way, if I'm, making things up, it can't exactly be too wrong, That's my theory anyway. So there we go. And we'll do his other hand here. Okay, try not to mess it up too much. Yeah, so I think that's not too bad. His little fingers, and we'll do a little bracelet there as well. Cool. So yeah, with the helpers and stuff in the game, there'll be a sort of sense of randomness to it. So you'll have engineers, you'll have hunters, at the moment we're not sure if gatherers are going to stay in there, which are kind of like scouts. And you'll also have light bearers. But all of them sort of subject to change. And as we go along, some might change and some might stay. We'll see how we go. Cool. And I want sort of what they're wearing to be very tatty, and when Neo first goes to the real world in Matrix and they're kind of wearing that, it looks very much homemade sort of materials they're wearing, the jumpers and the clothing in general. I've always liked that sort of look, so that's kind of where I'm going with. So yeah, that's sort of my mentor. I suppose that's sort of my mentor. I don't know, why am I forgetting the word so often? Reference. Ugh. I'm still struggling. Ugh. Can't do words today at all. Still struggling to draw and chat, but slowly getting a little bit better, but not by much, as you can tell. Right. Cool. Yeah, it's looking alright. We'll do another cable there. We don't need to do too much outlining. I just sort of thought it'd be nice to have a little bit of a sense of where the gaps are. And then one massive cable. Like, not really sure what these are. I wonder if they're like feed-in tubes or something. I've never really put much thought into what all these connections are to the half ship, and I wonder if the characters are more biomechanical, than I realize. Because it kind of makes sense if they are. And I like to draw and have an idea, but also let the drawing kind of figure it out for me, Does that make sense? It's probably a really weird thing to say, isn't it? I'm not that creative, but, the drawing does it for me. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. Right. And do that, and then carry on. Cool. Nice. And yeah, all this is just trying to make it up as I go along. And apologies for the first bit not to be seen, but I was well and truly out of focus, I think. But that's fine. We'll do another one. Right. Are we in focus? Yeah, I think so. Cool. Right, so that's one of the ideas. The next one, what should we do? I had another idea. What was it? Oh, yeah. I thought about the engineers sort of, if they were sort of wearing shrouds still, they could be on top of mechanical, like not beasts, but some sort of mechanical machine. It makes sense if they're not really, fit to cope in this sort of world, because they're more, very intellectual, very, I suppose, just people that have been almost developed just to be intelligent, and they've used every single ounce of their day and time just to figure out mechanical stuff, and not enough time to, hit the gym, as it were. Then I like the idea of them being fragile. I think that's quite a cool idea. So yeah, if they were super fragile, then it would make sense that they don't really need the, to be strong physically or highly immune to the stuff in the world. So yeah, this one's, you'll see in a second. I think this will make sense. In my head it does, but it's a bit tricky without a sketch to sort of plan out. So yeah, he's going to be in like a cockpit of like this strange sort of mechanism. So it'd be like this, and see if we can get a bit of a shape going so it doesn't look completely random for too long. Right, there we go. And then, how should this look? I'm wondering if, it'd be more, I suppose it doesn't need, his legs would be like there. I suppose it'd be more like a mech, if anything. So let's get the shape ready in my head. I've always struggled with sort of mechanisms, well, not mechanisms, but mechs in general. I think I need more practice drawing them. There we go. Something like that. Right, okay, let's carry on. And then there's other legs sort of coming out this way, even though that's way off. But and I don't like the idea of like feet, like, oh, maybe I do actually. I was going to draw sort of more elongated feet, but I think that's quite cool. I'm off camera. Sorry about that. So if we do big, long sort of toes, like so, like that, and Okay, cool. Again, very rough. I mean, we're trying to draw beyond my means at the moment. I just thought it'd be a good bit of practice. You know, it's nice not to have the schedule always, leading the way. Yeah, it'd be cool. Even though I kind of sketched with the pen itself, so kind of cheated there, but don't tell anyone, okay? Cool. Yeah, I was just thinking about it while I was doing the live video as well as afterwards. Just thought, well, yeah, the engineers should be quite a special character, and yeah, just didn't feel unique enough. So this is what this one's all about, and I guess this one would have its sort of his arms, little mechanical arms just ready. What I should have done is left a little bit of space here so I could have done the hand sort of going over the front. I normally do that, but hopefully I'll do it on the other side if I remember. That's cool. So I like the idea that the sort of mechanical arms sort of look similar. They're all designed in the same half ship, I guess, and the same world and the same sort of technology, so it kind of makes sense, right? Even if they're completely different characters. Cool. And then, I'm not really sure what to put on there. I was going to put some little sensors, because I always put that as on the half ship itself, which is kind of cool. And we might just do the one side really detailed and then not worry too much about the other side, because otherwise it's going to look exactly the same anyway. Like I said, I'm not very good at drawing mechs, so you can use your imagination. Pretend that the drawing would be fantastic on the right side. That would be great. So these sort of tubes are going to come into play, and they're almost sort of external tubes from one of the sort of telekinetically, like attached to the engineers. It's not so much using controls. I like the idea of the hands being free if they need to, so we draw a little bag there, and maybe, it'd be cool to have like just normal bags on the back, bags at the back. Just thought that's kind of cool. And then the little sensors, and then at the back of this mechanical machine could be all the pipes again, because I love this connection, this idea of being connected to the half ship at all times. And I guess it's just it's almost like a hive mind, I guess. I think that's one of my original thoughts, that everyone that works on the half ship is somewhat connected to it, physically or mentally. And if this is your first time here and you're thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Honestly, I have no idea. Just sort of rambling at this point. Yeah, just enjoying doodling now, actually, more than anything. Can't go wrong with a good doodle. Oh, right as we're talking, the boiler has gone off, as usual. Oh, that's a good professional video. Got people soaring outside. Forgot to focus. Boiler, magpies. Hey, yeah, that's about right. Dear me, dear me. Alright. Cool. Hope this makes sense what I'm drawing in this bit, because I know there's quite a lot going on and it's not the clearest of image, but that's kind of what I was going for. Not the unclearness, but the the character, and I'll draw a pipe and go into that one as well. So I guess even though he's in this mechanized suit, he'd be very vulnerable to anything damaging this bit, I suppose, still. And we'll just leave that there, I think. I don't think we need to do all of it. I just wanted to have that sort of look. So I'll just draw a little bit of ground here, just so it makes sense of height and how it works. Plus, I think it looks artsy and cool to do these little things. I'm going to do little feet there, and maybe a little foot there. So yeah, I like all the mechanical stuff to look kind of homemade. Everything, nothing looks, perfect by any means, and yeah, just always thought that looks cooler than things looking too accurate, too perfect, which is lucky for me. Right, next one. What should we do for the next one? What shall we do? We could do... I don't know. We'll just sort of do... We'll do a little sketch of just one in the distance. And we'll do sort of what they used to look like. And then... So that'll be his back. And then we'll do some little bags. Guys, really tricky to draw without a, I know I keep going on about it, without a little pencil plan. You have to really think about how you're going to space it, how is it going to look. Make sure the little details don't go over the top of each other. But I think we're getting away with it, just about. So yeah, we'll put a little mechanical spine up Fred. This is Fred. He's had a long day. They were attacked by harpies, and there was a storm. So he's having a crap day already. Just wants to go back into the half ship and have a good sleep. I was also thinking the other day, I've never really thought about what happens at the end of the day. So, you go off, you do all your survival stuff, and at night, that's all the time where your lures, your main characters, would do their nighttime rituals, wherever that may be. And then, I wonder what the pilgrims do, and the engineers, and all these characters. Like, what do they do at the end of the day? So, I was wondering, you could upgrade the half ship, their sort of main safety net place, and I don't know, maybe you could have things like rest and relaxation and things like that. So you would help the morale system. I haven't really thought about a morale system. I didn't think it was really necessary, but that might just add another layer to the game. Nothing that's going to stifle it or make, a chore, but something that would enhance it and sort of give more, I don't know, give more life, give more, I don't know. Not really sure what I'm trying to say, but, might be just an idea. Might never come into anything else. Just worth thinking about, I suppose. So this character has got some mechanical legs, which I think the original sort of engineers were like, part humanoid and part machine. I guess more like androids. Yeah, their whole system is to look after the half ship. If it gets damaged, they're there to fix it. They're there to help upgrade it quicker. They're useful characters. And then I don't know what's happening. What should go on in this hand? Maybe just like a little staff or something cool. Something like that. Some sort of fixing device. Fixing device. Some sort of fixing device. It's very creative, man. Well done. There we go. We'll do... almost looks like a bow. It's not meant to be a bow at all. Cool. Nice. How are we doing for time? Oh, it's not too long of a video. That's good. Sometimes I forget what I'm doing and overshoot it by about half an hour. Not today. Cool. I'm going to put a little bit of something underneath this little character's feet, just to show that it's all stood. A bit of shading, not too much. There we go. And we haven't done any cables in this one. I didn't want to put the cables in. I think it would be a little bit messy, but I think that's cool. What do you think? Should we leave it there? I think that's all right to leave it there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Right. That looks about middle. Yeah, that'll be all right anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed the rambles as ever, and a few little ideas about the engineers and a few new sort of types. As I'm thinking about ending, I thought, well, actually, I got one more little idea. So it's like if the headpiece was more sort of more half shippy, sort of almost alien. I wonder if it should be more alien, and almost have the isopod look to it. And I wonder if the shells of the isopods, maybe if you get certain type of isopods, you can actually use it to increase or develop your engineers in a different way. So if we have, so that's the head, we'll just sort of do a very basic body just so we have more of illustrative purposes. So that's the body there. A very small little person there. And then we have all this. Well, that's kind of cool. So it feels more like the engineers are more like hosts to all this additional stuff. That could be cool, couldn't it? I wonder if we should do that. Then all the little pipes going off, because I was thinking about this. If the half ship is, did I already talk about this? I can't remember. But if the half ship is, directly above, they don't need to have all the pipes, going behind them and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. It would be above them, so it'd be supported, right? Does that make sense? And then these limbs could become more like, the mechanical doodahs, and they could, yeah, that's cool. See, I didn't have to think of that. The drawing popped in my head, and I thought, well, I didn't think anything. It did its own thing. Good job, drawing. Earning your stay. Right, cool. Right, that's actually finished there then. Right, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Smudge that. Good job. Take care. Bye.